Hey guys, hope you had a good break. In today's video, we're going to check out question 1 of the grade 12 Chemistry paper 2 Gauteng Prelim 2025 paper. So let's jump right into the multiple choice questions. So 1.1 says, which of the following compounds has a formyl group as its functional group? So we have A, propan-1-ol, B, propanoic acid, C, prop-1-ene, and D, propan-nal. So as we can see here on this organic molecule sheet, we have our various different hydrocarbons, our haloalkanes, our esters, aldehydes, ketones, carboxylic acids, and alcohols. And all of these have their own different names, but a formyl specifically has to do with an aldehyde and a ketone, because these guys have carbonyl groups is the other word for it. So we have a carbonyl is this C with a double bond O over here, and this C with a double bond O over there. An aldehyde just has it on the end. That's why there's an attachment for an H over here, but a ketone is a C double bond O in the middle with a C on either side, so there's no space around the C to attach an H over there. So these guys have a carbonyl, and that means we're either looking for an ethanal or something with an L at the end, or a propanone or something ending in an one over there. So carbonyl is for both, but formyl specifically has to do with our propanal over here, because we have a propanal. It means we have a C double bond O over there, aldehyde ends with an Al over here, and we have meth, eth, prop. We have 4 C's in this chain, which means we just went straight for the answer. It isn't the propan-1-ol, that is an alcohol over here, like our alcohol over here, that ends in OH, and the type of functional group it would have is a hydroxyl for an alcohol. So that's why that one is out. And propanoic acid has a COOH over here, like we can see, and that is also not our functional group. And prop-1-ene is a hydrocarbon. It is a double bond over here, which means that that is also not the option that we're going with. So D over here earned us 2 marks. And then on to 1.2, the correct IUPAC name for the structure shown below is, so we have our various options over here. We have 1,4-dichloro, 4-ethyl, 3-methylpentane, 2,4-dichloro, 2-ethyl, 3-methylpentane. C is 3,6-dichloro, 3,4-dimethylhexane, and D is 1,4-dichloro, 3,4-dimethylhexane. So we have our various options here, and the first step we have to do when we identify an IUPAC name is to find our longest chain, where the most action is happening. By that, I'm talking about any functional groups, any double bonds, if there were anything like that, or any side chains, any CH3s like this. Generally, for numbering priority, we don't look at our halogens, our chlorines, or bromines, or anything like that, which means we just have to find our longest chain, okay? And sometimes this is a bent chain, which means we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over here, or we can count this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 6 is a longer chain than 5, which means if we're going to go ahead and number it, we're going to write 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, 4 here, 5 here, and 6 here. So we just have to see if we're going to start from 1 here or from 1 here, because if we're going to count 1, 2, 3, we see we have this side chain over here on 3. And if we're going to count from here as 1, we're going to go 1, 2, 3. We're also going to see the side chain here on 3. So in this scenario, it doesn't actually matter whether we have 1 over here or 1 over here, as long as our longest chain is the bent chain over here, which means if we know our bent chain has 6 C's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which means we have meth, eth, prop, bute, pent, and then hex, which means these pentanes over here are out, and this is telling us that we also don't have an ethyl attachment group, which means, like we were looking here, an ethyl would be 2 C's stacked off the side chain, but as we established, we have the longest chain here, which is 6 C's, which means we are dealing with methyl attachment groups. We have this methyl over here, this methyl over here. These are our side chains, and then we just have to check the correct numbering between C and D as far as which numbers the chlorines get and which numbers the methyls get. So now that we're looking at the 2 options here, we have a 3,6-dichloro. So 1, 2, 3, there's a chlorine. 4, 5, 6, there's a chlorine. So there's a chlorine and there's a chlorine, which means we have a 3 and a 6 as we've done our numbering here. And then we have 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. We have 3 over here and then 4 over here, dimethylhexane. And that's looking good. We just need to check D because C is not the correct answer, because what we have for D is 1, 4. So it means we actually had to change our numbering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, because what's happening is that because the side chains are in the exact same positions both ways, the most action is taking place here with the Cl on 1 instead of having the Cl happen on 6. So it's always about where the most action is happening. By that, any side chains, any attachment groups, or any double bonds, or anything like that. That's where we start the numbering priority, which means if we're going to look at D now with this changed numbering, we're going to see that 1, 4, so we have 1 and 4 dichloro, meaning 2 chlorines, perfect. Then we got 1, 2, 3, we have a 3, and then a 4 is this CH3 over here. 3, 4 dimethyl, meaning 2 methyl attachment groups, hexane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that means D is our final answer, just because the most action is happening by this chain over here. The numbering of the Cl attachment group needs to be on the 1 and not the 6, which means C is out and D is our final answer for 2 marks. And then 1.3 says, consider the following reaction. So we have step 1, we have a CH3, CH3 plus HBr, and that goes to compound P, and then compound P is taken in step 2, compound P plus NaOH goes to compound X plus NaBr. So they want the IUPAC name for compound X, and we have a couple of options here. We have A is butan 2-ol, B but2-ene, C 2-bromobutene, and D 2-bromobutane. The easiest way to work through this one is to do our reactions, because for step 1 we have our CH3, so we have a C, a C, a C, and a C, and we have 3 H's around the first one over there, and then we have 1 H on here and 1 H on here, and then we have 3 H's around this one. So we have 1, 2, 3 over there. And these middle two guys aren't quite right, because we have 1, 2, 3, and they always need to be 4 lines around each thing. And we can't draw the H over here because they didn't have an H over there, which means the only way to satisfy this middle portion here is to draw a double bond in between it, which means we have this meth eth prop but, this but2-ene, and we have to add HBr is what they told us, which means we're going to draw this down here, forming compound P. This is some sort of addition reaction, because an addition reaction is when we are adding something to a double bond and the double bond breaks. Because if we have our meth eth prop but, and we had these 3 here, we had this one here, and these 3 over here. If this bond over here breaks, what's going to happen is we're going to form availability over there and over there for this HBr to attach to, which means we have a Br over here and an H here. In certain scenarios, we'll have to work with Zakhovnikov's rule as to which one gets the Br and which one gets the H, but we'll deal with that when we come to a later question. But right now, because Br will either be on the 2 here or the 2 here, it doesn't really matter, which means addition is going from 2 to 1, and it's always a double bond breaking, forming a single bond, so we can attach this hydrohalogen in this case, which means compound P we now know, which is great. So this is P for us, and then they're taking P and they're adding NaOH. So we are taking this guy over here and we're adding NaOH plus NaOH. And now we may be asking ourselves, is this an addition reaction, an elimination reaction? What's happening? Because we're seeing our compound P here, a hydrohalogen with single bonds, and we have NaOH. This is a hydrolysis reaction. This is something we'll have to learn from our sheet. But what's happening is that we have 2 reactants over here and they go to 2 products over there. And as we can see, this OH and this Br, they swap. So this Br over here swaps with this OH and we form 2 new products, which means we aren't breaking any double bonds because there aren't any. So it's not addition. We also aren't forming any double bonds, because if we were to look at this reaction above and we reversed it, that would be an elimination reaction, because we are removing HBr. It's going this way. We have removed the HBr and then we're forming a double bond. Which means that if we know that it's not addition and it's not elimination, it is some sort of substitution reaction. Like we established here, we're swapping the OH and the Br. We're going to have our H's around here, and where the Br used to live, we're going to have the OH that is going to join here. Because we're not breaking any double bonds or forming any double bonds, we're just swapping the OH and the Br through hydrolysis, which means that this will be compound X, and as we established, our Na will be here and the Br will join it. So we have NaBr over there, which means this was step 2, and we're now dealing with a meth eth prop but, some sort of but over here, as they all are. We have a OH on our hydrocarbon, which means that we have some sort of alcohol now, as this is our hydroxyl group. which means, as we can see here, it is on our 2, whether we were counting this way or this way, whether our BR was here or over there, our OH would be on the 2, and as we can see here, A is butan, meth, eth, pro, but, butan, 2, ol, ol indicating alcohol, which means that A is our final answer here. Butene, this isn't a double bond. This also doesn't have a bromine attached to it like C, or a bromine attached to it like D. As we substituted that, the BR with the OH over there, which means that A is our final answer for 2 marks. And then 1.4 over here says consider the organic compound propanol. Okay, so we were discussing propanol in 1.1 over here. That was an aldehyde, which means we are now dealing with the aldehyde here again. It's always nice to just look around in the paper to see if there are common patterns or questions that we've touched on earlier come up later as well. So it's saying which of the following is correct for the homologous series and the intermolecular forces between the molecules of the compound propanol. So just like we were looking at earlier, the organic molecules sheet that we have over here, we have our aldehyde, our propanol, as you can see, aldehyde here, the Al over there, and then we have an Al over here, our ethanol in this scenario on this picture. But propanol is meth, eth, prop, so we have 3 C's instead of 2 C's, that's the only difference. But as mentioned in question 1, we know that this is an aldehyde over here, propanol, just like it is here, and it is not a ketone, so B and D are out, because a ketone has an -one over here, ONE, as the suffix for the name, okay, which means B and D are out, and as we can see here, that means we are dealing with the homologous series, which we've identified, and then the intermolecular forces, which we have to determine whether it's a hydrogen bonding or just dipole-dipole forces. And as we can see here on the sheet at the bottom, we have intermolecular forces here, and aldehydes have London forces and dipole-dipole forces. They do not have hydrogen bonding. That is only for carboxylic acids because the H is directly attached to the O, and alcohols because the H is directly attached to the O. But aldehydes have dipole-dipole forces because the O and the H are not directly attached to each other, but the C double bond O, regardless of the double bond, is here, and the electronegativity difference between C and O is in the range of dipole-dipole, which means that C will be our answer, as it is an aldehyde, propanol, and it has dipole-dipole forces like we can see over here. So that just earned us 2 marks over there. And then 1.5, we're just going to work through this one quickly because on the memo it says accept all answers because it was phrased a bit weirdly. So what we're going to see here is 1.5. The graphs below illustrate the distribution of the same amount of 4 different O2 gas samples. So it's gas in every single graph over here, which means each sample is at different temperatures. And then it's saying which gas is at the highest temperature. So B and D are not our usual forms because this is usually relating to Maxwell Boltzmann, which is a part of our rate of reaction section. So B and D are generally going to be out because what we have is something that peaks and then it starts to get lower as the temperature increases. So as we move more to the right for the temperature, it peaks at some stage and then it goes down. So C can also be true because C will also peak and then it will start to go down, hence the distribution curve. So right now, this guy starting at the origin is fine, but after it crosses the activation energy, it doesn't start to decrease again, which means it isn't following our normal Maxwell-Boltzmann trend. And then D also doesn't work because we aren't starting from the origin, which means at 0 degrees Celsius, the number of molecules is the most and then it's decreasing, which isn't following the trend. So we're just going to compare A and C just so we can understand Maxwell-Boltzmann in this question, but either way, we could just pick any answer. So they're saying which gas is at the highest temperature. So Maxwell-Boltzmann is usually about where the temperature is highest here. So as we move along our x-axis, say now we're starting at 0, and then here we're at 10, and somewhere in between we have 5. And here as well, we have 0, and then 5, and then 10 over there. As we can see, there'll be a higher temperature at this highest peak over here, and over here for A is a lower temperature at this peak over here, which means that C will ultimately have the higher temperature because we have more molecules as we move up this way that are at a higher temperature overall compared to here for A. So C would be our answer, and this is generally what happens when we have some sort of temperature change for Maxwell-Boltzmann. It'll shift the peak more to the right and then will look less steep. It's not about how steep it is, it's about how far to the right it is in terms of temperature over here, which means these molecules, a nice way I like to describe it to some of my students, is that they're all cold, they're all shivering, they're sitting by this y-axis because we have all these molecules that don't have a very high temperature, which means the peak happens earlier, and as we turn from reactants to products in a reaction, we have less molecules with sufficient energy to overcome the activation energy, which means we're going to get less reactants to products over there. But in this scenario, we have a higher peak here, where we have more molecules that are not cold and shivering by the y-axis, and they have a higher energy at their peak. So when we start to convert from reactants to products, we ultimately have more reactants that have enough energy greater than the activation energy to convert to products. That's what this dotted line represents, the activation energy. But this question specifically is too broad, and they needed to refine the question. But if we're just going to look at A and C, C has a higher temperature. It has been shifted to the right with more molecules having a higher temperature. So we're just going to use C as our answer here. And in this scenario, that would earn us 2 marks.